All right, guys, when you get to this packet, this is the thesis, taking your chicken foot thesis to writing your essay. And this is an outline to just kind of organize what you want to do with your paper and how you want to write your paper. That way, when you go to write it, you have kind of a plan for what you're going to write and you don't get lost in what you're doing. So in this one, you know that when you're writing it, this will be your introduction, the first one, paragraph 1. This is your intro. And if you remember to lessons in writing, which this is not your first time writing, you always want to start with a hook or a grabber. So you want to start with your hook or a grabber, and then you want to start with a brief and relevant plot summary, tell a little bit about Macbeth, let the audience know that you are writing about Macbeth and the topic that you're writing about. The question, Macbeth, who's in control, maybe restate it a little bit differently. And then this was your chicken foot. So this part, you do your chicken foot, which is your thesis statement, okay, your roadmap. All right, and then paragraph 2. Remember, we said we were going to write about the Weird Sisters first. And the way you do that, you got to introduce the topic. So you introduce about the Weird Sisters here. And then you need evidence supporting. That means it needs to come from the text. It needs to be like from document A, B, C, D. Remember what we said? It would have to be A, D, or E. Okay, so it's got to be the documents. And this thing does not write well. And remember paragraph 3 here, you know it's going to be about Lady Macbeth. So you already know Lady Macbeth. And you know when you got to say Lady Macbeth is in control of some of the stuff. So you got to have your little introduction to the paragraph. And then you got to use some evidence. And remember, evidence is going to have to come from documents B and C. This can look like a paraphrase. A paraphrase, you still have to cite that it came from such document, because if it is not your idea, you must give it credit. These are things that get people kicked out of college when they don't give credit for where ideas come from a text. So always cite too much. That's my rule, because it saves you. Paragraph 4, again, remember this is your last body paragraph. This is going to be about Macbeth. And in this one, you can use documents A, C, D, and E. And then this one, paragraph 5, is your conclusion. So this is just like how you write your stuff, okay? So this is your outline. Now, here's an example of what it will look like when you finish your outline. So a finished outline, here's an example. So it looks something like your unit title, Macbeth, who's in control. This is your intro again. Your grabber, maybe you want to say mankind's struggle for control is timeless. Then you give a little bit of information about Macbeth, the play, and you say Shakespeare's Macbeth is the story of a man who wants to be king and reaches his goal. And then maybe restate the question, but is he really responsible for determining the course of events throughout the play? This would be with your funnel introduction, what we would have called your bridge. So this is kind of like your bridge from, you're taking your hook, you got some of your bridge, like your information, then your bridge right here, and then your thesis. So the thesis says, although the Weird Sisters and Lady Macbeth have some control over events in the play, Macbeth has the most control. That is your thesis. All right, so then this is where I said you have to introduce that this paragraph is about the Weird Sisters. You could say something like the Weird Sisters have some control over events in the play. And then your evidence. You pick out some quotes you can use or some paraphrases. So this one here, they said 3 original prophecies are the root of all events in the play. All hail Macbeth, thou shalt be king hereafter. Notice they cited document A. And then prophecies by the Weird Sisters, apparitions come true, and Macbeth is vanquished. That's from documents D and E. They paraphrase this one in documents D and E. But they're still telling you that this information, the prophecies, the apparitions, this idea came from documents D and E. It did not come from their head. So they cited that, and they made that clear to the reader that this is where their support, their evidence came from. They didn't just throw it in there. That's their support. And then your explanation or argument would be your last sentence there. It says, from Acts 1 through Acts 5, everything the Weird Sisters say will happen to Macbeth actually happens. Boom. That's our outline for paragraph 2. All right, paragraph 3. This is about Lady Macbeth. There's your little mini thesis. Lady Macbeth also has some control over events in the play. Lets you know, hey, paragraph 3 is going to be about how Lady Macbeth influences Macbeth. So you got your evidence, your textual evidence. They said Lady Macbeth convinces Macbeth to kill Duncan so he can become king. But screw your courage to the sticking place and will not fail. That was a quote from document B. It is cited. Very good, correctly. She also repairs the murder weapons and helps Macbeth frame the guards when he is unable to do so. Give me the daggers. And again, that's from document C. Make sure you cite, and it will look just like this. And then your final explanation. Without Lady Macbeth's help and influence, it is unlikely that Macbeth would have killed Duncan, which is the major turning point in the play. Paragraph 4, Macbeth here says, nevertheless, Macbeth has the most control over the events in the play. If you remember, I told you, if you are the one committing the crime, you are the one in control, because you could have chosen not to do it. So paragraph 4 is about Macbeth. So your evidence here, immediately after the Weird Sisters hail him as king, Macbeth admits to having black and deep desires. Again, document A, it is cited correctly. And then it says Macbeth is the one who actually kills Duncan. Document C is cited. Again, these are paraphrased. You can put things in your own words. You don't have to use quotes. It's just information from that document. Macduff kills Macbeth because Macbeth had Macduff's entire family killed. Documents D and E. If you will notice, you had your buckets. Your bucket said that you are supposed to use documents A, C, D, and E citations inside of this paragraph. And this person has used A, C, D, and E. So they have done what they were supposed to do. That's good. All right, and then you just conclude, and you don't notice, you don't say in conclusion. That is a terrible way to start a paragraph at the end. You just want to say, just start off talking. It says, although the fate and Lady Macbeth's influence may have pointed Macbeth in a certain direction, Macbeth is ultimately in control of his own destiny. This is an outline. This is not the whole paper. So obviously when they go to write the paper, and I'm going to show you that next, and it's in your packet, there will be a lot more there. But this is just an outline, a basis for what they are going to write. So this kind of gives you an outline or an idea of how to do your paper.